Hi, everybody. Welcome to CX Tech Talks, where we're going to bridge AI with CX. This series is presented by Zappix. I'm Valerie McSorley, your host. And today we have a special treat. We've got Kathleen Peterson joining us, who is an absolute legend in the space. She's the founder and chief vision officer of PowerHouse Consulting. I have had the great pleasure to work and know Kathleen for decades now. Absolute decades. And I know this is fact because I was pregnant with my first son when she came in to be the keynote at Gillette Stadium. And you just took the place by storm. She always does. She always lights up any room that we have her in. And she brings a wealth of knowledge in the space. She brings a can-do, kick-ass attitude to everything she does. And she does so with really solid, just facts around the space, knowledge around the space, and just a wit that is just amazing. And the energy that you bring to the space, I just enjoy tremendously. And I just truly, I respect and admire you for a very long time. So it's really a pleasure to sit down with you today. You're an absolute visionary in this space. And I'm just delighted to have you.
Well, thank you, Valerie. So likewise, I mean, we've been through a lot in the industry and seen a lot come and go, and some stays, and apparently we're staying.
At least for a little
Which
bit
is good.
longer.
Yeah, it's a good business to be in. I think sometimes people don't realize the excitement that this particular niche operational environment has to offer. Honestly, it's been an amazing ride for us, certainly.
Well, it certainly has changed a lot through the years. And it certainly, I mean, now with the explosion of AI everywhere, I mean, everyone's running to the finish line to try to get there. And there's all kinds of emotions around AI. Some people are going full forward as fast as they can get there to get solutions in place. Some are afraid of it, some are hesitant. And I'm sure you've seen this before.
Yeah, I was going to say, having started my life in the voice technology business in 1980, where the same enthusiasm occurred over ACDs, these digital environments where we could actually intelligently distribute. I mean, it was, whether it was ACD, then there was voicemail, there were cool features, there were speed dial. I mean, we went through all the iterations, and I think the interesting, consistent element is that technology has always had a massive impact on what the contact center is going to do and how they're going to do it and how efficiently it's going to be done. Because it's an operational environment, and technology more and more and more drives that, which is also why I think the whole contact center operational environment needs to be better developed from a technology perspective to be able to be seated at the IT table so that the needs are well represented. I mean, we have both seen, heard, everybody's probably hears this, has either been there or heard about it. Hey, your new phone system's coming in Monday, or the CRM system is being changed to XYZ. Well, nobody involves. If you're not involved, then you kind of got to stop that now. I mean, it's way past the years where you can't know, at least at a high level, what the capabilities are and what you need to be doing in the contact center to be ready to embrace those technologies. AI in particular has a serious dependency on clean processes, and at least directing, machines to where they're going to find the data. So in order to really deliver on the patient experience or the customer experience, those elements have they've always been important, but I think now they're digging deeper into the activities and the tasks that our agents are executing on. Nobody's calling to buy anything anymore. I don't know if you've noticed it, but certainly cross-sell, upsell conversations have gone by the wayside because contact centers are problem solvers. It's rare that we have an opportunity to sell. We could probably retain and we can do, but the shift that I've seen from the from the upsell, cross-sell to the customer experience has been fairly significant. And it's facilitated by what's in front of that person that they're talking to on the phone.
Well, I mean, there's so much to unpack from that. So first of all, I mean, having your seat at the table is something that you firmly have to have and have had to have for a long time. I think we've seen the shift where the contact center leaders were invited more into these discussions, but I think you still have to create that conversation and that winning team where you've got all the right powers that be at the table and you can be supported, because you can't be handed solutions that don't quite fit the patient or the customer journey. So, you've got these tools, and I know how many times have we been overpromised and underdelivered and burnt by the promise of technology. I mean,
that's a whole
that's
nother
a whole,
podcast
we could
right
talk
there.
about that
Yeah,
until, I
that
mean, the cows come home.
well, yeah, if they would ever, have that conversation. It's I think that it's a chronic condition that you have to earn your seat at the table. You have to come with, you can't say, Mommy won't let me come to the table. No, that you're not a victim. You have to be a participant. And what we use, what's our currency? The currency is information. And when we look at, particularly if we take healthcare just out of it for a second and say, what do we have to do differently in the contact center for healthcare providers, what's happening in that environment, and how much technology has the potential to improve that. And healthcare has a particularly difficult financial situation.
Yes.
Walmart has just alerted us all to the fact by closing 51 primary care clinics that patient-facing care is expensive and it is operationally difficult, particularly in the smaller environment. So that way we see consolidation and we see all of these things happening. But once it happens, it's now we're being faced with AI options. We're being faced with all kinds of new ways to effectively balance the customer experience with an appropriate amount of technology that is going to return them to profitability. I mean, there's, anytime we can cut a cost while simultaneously smoothing out that patient experience, then we're all going to win better. And, I think we've talked before about the no-show rates.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so we're all patients. Everybody's been to the doctor. I'm not sure how many people realize that when that screen opens up when you check in, the thing in the right-hand corner is going to tell that person checking you in your no-show rate, and it's a particularly interesting element for me because it costs money. It costs, provider utilization and productivity. But it made up, I think when the person sees it at check-in, they think, oh, what a slob. This person just doesn't show up, but for me and what I see, because we've been in healthcare for a very long time, is that there are a lot of reasons, and consolidation has made the reasons for no-shows significantly more complicated. But we have reason codes in the contact center for everything, right?
Right.
Do we have a reason code for no-shows? I have yet to see it. And if we don't know what the reason is for this huge thing that costs us money, it costs us money to book the appointment. It costs us money to put techs in a room if it's for a test or a procedure. It costs us money to have the slot open. And yet we are not looking at, did that person not show up just because, they're a useless, patient? Did they not show up because they showed up on the wrong day? Did they not show up because they showed up at the wrong location? We've become so enamored, I think, with the appointment reminder. We think that that's taken, well, we did it. Now it's your fault that you didn't get there.
Well, thinking about it, like the patient experience has become more and more like the consumer experience along the way. So and we're always talking about what's the why, what's the why, what's our why. So what's the why behind no-shows? You've got all these behavioral things, and there's a lot of ways that we can easily fix that with some analysis.
Well, and that's why I think my new trick is like from no show, NOSHOW, to no show, KNOWSHOW.
Ah,
You
aha
know,
moment.
how do I get to know what drove it? Because if I don't know what drove it, I'm not going to know
You
how to
can't
fix
fix
it.
it. You
And
can't
if
fix
I
it.
say, you know, and in some conversations I have defensively, the practice manager will say, well, we give them the location. Do you tell them where to park? Do you tell them what entrance to go in the building? Do you tell them what elevator bank to get in your, you know, considering some of the size of these campuses that people are going to,
Massive.
particularly if they're escalated to a specialty. So now they're not only suffering from something, they are going to be doubly negatively impacted. They can't find it. You know, so there's so many, you know, how can we fix that? Can we push information to them that is grander and easier to get at than just looking at a bland text that, you know, we all just scan through, press Y to, you know, say, sure, I'm coming, that's fine. But if you've never, you know, been there, and there's another one. What if your pre-registration people have let someone through the gates? So now they showed up, but you don't take their insurance now.
Yes. Yes. This actually just happened to me. And it happened to me on my way out the door of the visit. That was $800. Yeah. So how did I get that far? Yeah, I found out as I was checking out. And completely unacceptable. I had no idea how I even got that far when I was referred by my primary doctor. So how could this happen? Where are these gaps? This doesn't even make
Well, and
sense that I could get to that part of the process.
And that is really indicative. If every person probably listening to this has had one of those events happen, they're avoidable. And I think the way to look at how can we use AI is find out what's wrong. You know, when we find, not just because, oh, you know, there's so many things AI can now help with in the patient environment, and what you just alluded to, you know, prior authorizations is a huge opportunity to move the finances to faster, to improve the you know, the first round approval rating. But you have to do that with you have to first have a documentable process in order to look at AI and say, can AI do that? So as we're talking about, you know, from no show to no show, how about from, you know, how do we get to a place where we know more about the whole story? The patient experience has a dependency on all those steps being taken, and yet they're decentralized. So as we're moving towards this being more enlightened, we ought to think about the benefits to centralizing prior authorizations with the schedulers, with the nurse triage, so that we have what should be a seamless encounter for the patient, a seamless organizational structure to support the seamless experience. And it's currency. You know, this is the currency that the only currency the contact center has is information. And how that, you know, your contact center metrics and all those analytics are great for staffing, forecasting, and planning. They're not great for making a case. You know, we got to make a case about what we're good at and where our deficiencies are and what's keeping us, you know, from getting better. And these are the kind of results we can produce that actually positively impact revenue generation and retention and that's what, you know, I guess, see, I'm sorry, I get cuckoo. I think we have to start educating leadership about the business side of the business.
Yes. Building a business case,
business.
using these tools, using automation. I mean, the biggest thing around AI, it just sounds so like, you know, overpowering and all knowing, but the very basic steps, just use it to automate this process. This can be one and done, set up and just lather, rinse, repeat, get the instructions out there, have a video link, show the process. Go even further, allow X amount of time for parking, allow X amount of time to get from the front door of the building to our office. Especially if you're bringing a caregiver's bringing someone, maybe it's someone elderly, they need to know what time, how much time to
And where's
allow, and then
transport?
back it
How do,
up.
you know, I've got someone in a wheelchair that needs to get through the,
Yes.
how do I get to transport? All of those things are capable of being proactively provided to the patient in a timely framework that allows them to execute on the information and arrive where they're going to supposed to be, not with high blood pressure, you know, from trying to find it.
That is true. That is true.
It's
I've seen that more than once. You take my blood pressure at the beginning and at the end, and it's a different number. And, you know,
especially if I had to find my way into a clinic. You know, after I get off an elevator in a tower, I was just at a building, and apparently I just don't go to the doctor enough because they had time to build an entire new building. And, and I went into the old building, and I walk in, and they're like, well, you got to do like 5 blocks down the corridor
oh,
and
well,
5 floors up. And it's like, in spite of my appointment reminder, I did not get anything that said you are in the new North Tower. The parking is at the rear. You know, that is not a lot to ask.
no, it's not.
But
It's not.
when it's being executed by an IT department and not by the contact center leadership, then you have the most bare bones messaging that is, they don't know any better. You know, this is what they said to provide the patient, and, you know, that's what we did.
Well, that's where I think the extra step of the care goes in, right? That's the care in the care journey. So, you know, but you talked about something, and I want to make sure we circle back on this while we have time. You know, if Walmart couldn't figure out how to make something profitable, that should give us all big pause, because they've figured out how to monetize everything. And when you have these no-show rates in double-digit numbers, there's an extreme amount of unperformed revenue that's left on the bottom line. And I've been talking to some leaders lately, and just having them build the case around the investment in the new technology. They have to know their numbers to build these business cases. There's so many ROI calculators. There's so many ways. I mean, Zappix has a great tool to reduce no-shows in double digits, and they've got the proof.
And that's really what people need to be able to bring forward, though. You know, you really need to be able to, you need to go to IT, you need to say, look, I was looking at this, like you said, I was looking at Zappix, and I think there's 3 things they could do for us, and here's why. But, you know, as Forrester put out a publication a couple of years ago that said, you know, when you're doing these analysis, it doesn't have to be accurate, it just has to be reasonable. You know, so for someone from the call center, you don't need an MBA, you just have to have a reasonable forecast in what we think this is going to yield. And that's only at this level. A lot of people forget to mention the fact that every step we take to streamline a process, to improve financial, you know, capabilities, all lead to a more positive experience for all the parties that are involved. Including the contact center, because they're getting, you know, every contact center should have a quarterly meeting with IT. What are you guys thinking about? Here's what we're looking at. You know, I could go on and on endlessly about, you know, the organizational and operational opportunities that the call center provides. But I think when we're looking at these, we've got also this is very specific. We can go from no show to no show. I know why you didn't show, and I'm going to track this until we satisfy those deficiencies to the point where we are operating at the utilization rates that we need to operate to be sustainable. It's
well, it's that level of analysis that's going to be revealing, and it's that level of analysis that makes things fixable, and it's that level that allows you then to make gains, because you can eliminate the problem with some basic information that's very easily pushed out. So these things are all fixable.
You're going to be,
but you have to understand the nature of the problem.
And nobody's doing it. You're going to look unique. You're going to look like, wow, look, she must be wicked smart. You know, it's like, you know, you go with a pie chart and people think you did something magnificent because nobody's doing it. They just want to talk about blah blah to each other, like, well, I didn't know, you didn't know, well, you did it without us. That's pointless. You know, the point is make a relationship with these people before you need something from them, because, you know,
Yes.
my
Yes.
entire rest of this year, what I'm writing about is how to, gain power, you know, gain
I love it.
power in the operational side of the contact center. And AI is a big part of that. The dependencies are huge, but the scalability of the contact centers, the way they're built to scale. So now's the time to take all those elements that are in silos and bring them into one streamlined event, and then you find where AI is going to make this more meaningful for everybody.
Well, I love that. And you're definitely someone that we're going to continue to watch. Knowledge is power. And I appreciate your time with us today. And we'll be looking forward to learning from you for far beyond the rest of this year.
Well, I appreciate your testimony to my longevity, because that's important. So
Thanks,
anyway, it was
Kathleen.
a pleasure. Thanks, Valerie. Till next
Thanks so
time, it's always a
much.
pleasure. Till then,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.